All right, good evening. What a wonderful audience to see the room full tonight. So I'll call to order the March 13th, 2018 school board meeting. Ms. Wilson, I'll ask if you let the minutes reflect all members of the school board are present this evening, along with Dr. Jones and with our student liaison, Ms. Lily Brindley. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ms. Ayers, invocation by Mr. Kunka. Would ask you to please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we ask that you be with us tonight as we publicly conduct business in Powhatan County Schools. Please guide us in our deliberations so that we may make the best decisions in the interest of the students, the staff, and the parents and citizens of Powhatan County. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. All right, next item on our agenda is the approval of the proposed agenda for the evening. Do any members have changes necessary to the agenda proposed? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as proposed for the evening?
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kunka seconds Ms. Ayers' motion. All in favor of approving the proposed agenda, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. That takes us to the approval of the minutes. This evening we'll be considering the minutes from both the meetings of the 13th and the 27th. Those minutes will need to be separated, so we will need separate motions for each of the meetings. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes for either the 13th or the 27th? And for the benefit of the audience, we are separating the minutes from the 27th. Mr. Kunka was not present with us that evening, so we do need to vote on them separately. Is there a motion regarding the minutes from the 13th?
Mr. Chairman, to make a motion, we approve the minutes from February 13th at 5 o'clock and 7 p.m. meetings.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes on the 13th. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we'll take up the 27th.
I make a motion, we accept the February 27th minutes.
Second.
Ms. Evil's made a motion. Mr. Cole has seconded the motion. All in favor of approving the minutes of the 27th of February, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Please note Mr. Kunka has abstained. That takes us to the review of bills and receipts. Any discussion regarding the bills and receipts this evening? Is there a motion to approve the bills and receipts as presented?
Just review.
All right. So we don't need to approve them, but there's no discussion regarding the review. All right, takes us to the first performance of the evening, and the only performance of the evening. Saxophone music is not something we have for every meeting. Dr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those of you who do not know, March is Music in Our Schools Month, and in honor of that being the designation for March, we are very, very pleased to have some students from Pocahontas Middle School here, the middle school saxophone ensemble, to perform a couple numbers for them. I'm going to let them perform, and then I will introduce them to the audience after we get to hear them play. Mr. Sneed?
Very nicely done.
the students could please raise their hand or take a bow, whichever you prefer, when I read your name so that you can be recognized. Rebecca Stevens, Ricky Huber, Fletcher Mullins, Gabe Colzer, Alexander Paloki, and Christian Davis. Let's give them one more big hand. Also like to recognize our Director of Middle School Bands, Mr. Andrew Sneed.
So while they're moving away, let me say on behalf of the Powhatan County School Board, thank you very much. That was very well done. Nice job, folks. And one more round of applause if you don't mind. Thank you, Mr. Sneed.
Mr.
Dr.
Chairman,
Jones. Yes, sir.
if I could, March also happens to be Youth Art Month, and while we're on the topic of celebrating our arts in our schools, our public library here in the courthouse has an exhibition going on for the next several weeks of many of our students' artwork. So if you have a chance to go by the library and see some of our students' artwork, I think you'll be impressed with it. It's an excellent exhibition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Dr. Jones, the next item is yours. I believe you're going to provide us with an update on the budget.
I am. This is actually a public hearing opportunity for the public to speak on our budget process. This is a required public hearing that we have. There are several attachments that were on the boilerplate to provide information to the community. Our budget, as any of you who've been following the news knows, that we are waiting on the General Assembly to take action. We found out today that the governor is calling back the General Assembly for a special session on April 11th. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until now, until we see what the final version of our state revenue is. But I know the board would appreciate anybody who would like to speak at this point can come up to the podium to give input on our budget process.
And as Dr. Jones indicated, this is a comment period, public hearing for the budget. So if you would like to come up and address the board regarding the budget, please do so. This is the appropriate time. This provides an opportunity for other individuals or delegations wishing to comment publicly to do so. So there is a time limit of 3 minutes per individual and 5 minutes for the representative of group, with a 30-minute total time limit. So anyone wishing to come forward and address the board regarding the proposed budget, please do so now. We would ask that if you would address your comments to the board as a group, and also to identify yourself by name, please provide us with your address. So the public hearing is open for comment regarding the proposed budget. Anyone wishing to address the board regarding the proposed budget during this public hearing period, please step forward. One last opportunity. All right, so seeing no movement, I'll bring the public hearing period to a close regarding our proposed 2018-2019 budget. Next item on our agenda is the public comment period. So this is our first public comment period of the evening. It's an opportunity for individuals or groups that wish to address the board about any topic to come forward. The period is a time limit of 3 minutes per individual or 5 minutes per group, with a total time limit of 30 minutes. Anyone wishing to come forward and address the board regarding any topic, you may do so now. We would ask that you identify yourself by name. Please provide your address. And again, if you would please address your comments to the board as a whole. Public comment period is open now. Anyone wishing to address the board regarding public comment period? All right, so seeing no movement, I'll bring the public comment period to a close. Dr. Jones, I believe that takes us to several recognitions we have this evening.
Yes, sir. If the board could join me on the floor, we have several outstanding student and staff recognitions for this evening.
Good evening. We're going to start by recognizing Josie Vesserat, who is our recipient of the Brotherhood Sisterhood Youth Award. Josie can come forward and I'll share a little bit about her. Powhatan High School senior Josephine Vesserat is a winner of the Brotherhood and Sisterhood Award presented by the Interfaith Community of Greater Richmond. Her counselor, Ms. Baltimore, conveyed the following quote on the nomination form. Josie has shown empathy and understanding of those with limited physical and or emotional capabilities by befriending and being an advocate for the member of the cheerleading team who has a disability. While physical limitations may prevent this student from participating in some aspects of cheering, Josie goes above and beyond to make sure her friend is included in activities and routines. Watching the two girls take the court together, holding hands, is sweet and endearing. Josie is the captain of the varsity sideline cheerleading teams for football and basketball, is a member of the varsity competition cheerleading team in which she was first team all-conference in 2016, participates in the Powhatan High School Youth Cheerleading Clinic, is a PHS Student Interact Ambassador, and is the PHS Varsity Boys Lacrosse Team Manager. Congratulations, Josephine. Now we're going to recognize some basketball teams from the middle school. I'm going to ask for Mr. Wasowski, who is the athletic director, to come forward, as well as Shell Daniels, Jarrett Fields, and Mackenzie Parker, our girls basketball coaches. The girls basketball team won their third ever Southside Middle School Conference Championship, where they defeated Amelia in the finals. They had an astonishing 15-1 record and played with heart and dedication all year. The girls are not only exceptional on the court, but they also did a phenomenal job of representing PMS off the court. The program is definitely moving in the right direction, and we're excited for what the future holds for girls basketball at both PMS and PHS. The girls that we're going to recognize tonight: Erin Almond, Logan Anthony, Shauna Callahan, Catherine Cerullo, Sophie Dolan, Samantha Flippo, Ella Foster, Faith Henderson, Megan Hodge, Emily McDaniels, Delaney Saunders, Kayla Terry, Nakaya Turner, Pierce Vandell, Colby Wright, and managers Ainsley Alexander and Madeline Johnson. Congratulations, ladies. I'm going to ask Coach Phil Nussbaum and Chuck Cantone to come forward to help with the next presentation. Now for the Pocahontas Middle School boys basketball team. The boys basketball team were the Southside Middle School Conference runner-ups. First team in PMS history to achieve this. And as impressive as their record of 13-3 was, this team of young men are also exceptional in their sportsmanship. After a heartbreaking loss in the championship game, the opposing team continued celebrating as our team waited patiently in line to tell them good game and head to the locker room. The other team never lined up, and after a moment of confusion, the PMS boys walked over to the middle of the huddle of the celebrating team and began to tell them good game. This was the ultimate showing of sportsmanship, respect, humility, and grace. We recognize them tonight as much for how they represent PMS as for their accomplishments on the court. And if the following young men could come forward: Emery Bradley, Stephen Krotz, Ethan Dowdy, Chase Gaines, Matthew Hempfield, Austin Hurt, Cody Lewis, Wyatt Lowe, Hans Ramey, Peter Russin, Parker Sloan, Brandon Washburn, Oscar Whiteley, Mason Whitley, Tanner Wyatt, and managers William Karanian, Omari Morris, and Darius Reddick. Congratulations, boys. Our next recognition goes in line with our Music in Schools Month, and if I could ask Mr. Andrew Sneed to come down and help with the presentation, and also recognize several of our other our music teachers in the audience, Mr. Nicholas Sneed, Mr. Neil Landini, and I'm not sure if they're here tonight, Miss Cammie Graham, Miss Roxanne Witt, and Miss Sandra Parker, recognizing Music in our Schools Month. Tonight we're going to recognize the Virginia Music Educators Association, Virginia Band and Orchestra Directors Association, and Virginia Choral Directors Association, who offer honors ensembles to feature the most outstanding student musicians throughout the Commonwealth. Membership is earned through a rigorous audition, and this year over 1,000 students auditioned for positions in the District 3 honors bands. Students rehearse over the course of 2 days and present a concert under the direction of esteemed guest conductors. The following students are recognized for their participation in VMEA all-district and state events. At Powhatan High School for all-district concert band, Carly Marsh, Anna Edwards, Lily Peck, Shay Wright, Karen Martin, Alexis Elzey, Jordan Carey, Olivia Mack, Davis Tester, Kevin Makita, Jackson Tester, and Caitlin Williams. Okay, all right. I've been told to keep rolling. All District Symphonic Band, let's recognize Landry Henderson, Emmy Melchert, Nash Gober, and Trevor Leonard. For All Virginia Symphonic Band, Emmy Melchert. Thank you. For VMEA Student Composers Festival, Davis Tester. And All District Chorus Workshop, Eliza Cloud Luanga, Isabella Cerullo, Bethany Nichols, Lillian Peck, Jasmine Williamson. For Senior Women's Chorus, Elizabeth Dayton, Afton Jones, Kylie Reese, Kayla Tibbs, Kayla Wheeler. For Senior Mixed Chorus, Grace Frame, Taylor Goolsby, Sarah Long, And Isabella Cerullo, freshman, was selected as an alternate for All-State Chorus. I've got some middle schoolers. I've got one more group of middle schoolers. I'll do those separate. And then a middle school group that we want to recognize are All-District Middle School Band, Gabe Kelzer, Jade McCoy, Sydney Lee, Emily Gordon, Sadie Mead, and Sophie Edwards. This picture. All right, next we'd like to recognize one of our special education teachers. Mrs. Roxanne Wentworth was recognized at the 6th Annual From Possibilities to Practical Applications Education Conference for the Outstanding Educator Award in Eastern Virginia. She was nominated by Mrs. Terry Fisher on behalf of her son Cameron Fisher, who's with us here tonight as well. Mrs. Wentworth was selected because of her outstanding dedication as an educational professional and focus on her students' educational success. Thank you so much for all you do, Ms. Wentworth. We'd like to recognize another outstanding teacher, Mrs. Elizabeth Kirk, recipient of the Dr. Marlene Scott Curriculum and Instructional Leadership Award. Each year, the Virginia Technology and Engineering Education Association recognizes members and other individuals who provide outstanding leadership and service in the field of technology and engineering education. These individuals provide exemplary vision and support for the implementation of children's engineering
as a method of instruction to foster critical thinking and problem-solving abilities that contribute to increasing children's attainment of the Virginia standards of learning and their knowledge of the technological world. The 2018 recipient is Elizabeth L. Kirk, Powhatan STEM coach. Congratulations. More teacher recognition. The Pocahontas Elementary School team for Inclusive Practice Partnership Project Grant Award winners, Mrs. Varna Redlich, Mrs. Ashley Brooks, and Mrs. Helen Montgomery from Pocahontas Elementary School. The Department of Education has chosen a team of teachers from Powhatan County Public Schools as one of the projects to be highlighted during the 2017-18 school term as part of the VDOE's Best Practice for Inclusive Education Initiative, the Inclusive Practice Partnership Project. This project is a professional development model designed to recognize and support effective inclusive practices that can be replicated by other schools and school divisions. As a selected partner, this team will be sharing resources and expertise with others. They received a $2,500 grant to be used for instructional technologies, research-based interventions, instructional materials and supplies, professional development and training. We're very fortunate to have this exceptional group of educators. Our last recognition is our Strategic Plan Steering Committee. As you will recall, last meeting, we went over our Strategic Plan Steering Committee's results, and we came up with our goal of a vision for the county, empowering today to innovate tomorrow, as well as the mission, PCPS prepares students to thrive in a global community. And this happened because of this group of stakeholders who have worked since last October to develop this mission, vision, and a strategic plan for Powhatan County. Over the last 5 months, they've met 4 times with assigned homework in between each meeting. They represent a wide range of residents, parents, and staff in Powhatan County, and their work has already yielded that mission and vision statement, as well as some goals for the staff to develop action plans and a tagline. So I'd like to recognize these folks: Sarah Baltimore, Kristen Benson, Robert Brock, Jim Chapman, Kate Chavez, Lynn Clayton Prince, Teresa Christ, Kelly Davis, Constance Steele, Willis Funn, Karen Gobble, Tiffany Green, Allison Harding, Karen Horn, Kim Emel, Gwen Johnson, Eric Jones, Carolyn Keeler, Christy King-Berry, Libby Kitten, Katricia Little, Carter Lyons, David Mack, Renee Mayo, Nathan Mitchell, Holly Morris, Tanja Nelson, Melissa Nelson, Maury Pace, Greg Perry, Jeannie Renger, John Ringstaff, Tanya Ross, Shelley Shust, Andrew Sneed, Lynn Stevens, Patty Trojanowski, and Joe Walters. Oh, it's later. It's later in the agenda. I've got it. Sure, yeah, my glasses.
I'll go this way.
I thought the same thing. So.
Yeah, because that has to be approved.
It's warm in
Should
here.
have done it then, while there were people still here. Think about that.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very warm in here. Is it broken? No?
That was oversight on my part. That's where we've typically done
I
resolutions.
know, I just,
No.
no. She'll cover it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
It'll be online. Hindsight.
Yep.
She just showed me where it was on the agenda. I think you did.
That's why I went up and told her it's not later.
All right, Dr. Jones, that takes us to the consent agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members, we have several items in the consent agenda that can be voted on in a block. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of the items, but we are looking for approval of the consent agenda.
Ms. Emel.
I had a question on the monthly financial report.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering, I might have asked this question before, but
Okay.
I'm not, I just wanted to double check. Where it said facilities expenses included the clerk of the works payroll expenses will be moved to capital projects at the year end. Could you please explain why and why it's not done now instead, and we're waiting to do it later, or what that means?
It's really just an accounting. It's easier for us to pay it out of the general fund, and then when we finish up the projects, we'll make sure to transfer it back out of the project back into the general fund. So it's just a accounting procedure to make sure that, and that's why we wanted to make a note of it. So the money will be coming out of the project cost. It's just easier to, because it's a payroll item, to pay it out of these funds and then transfer the money at the end.
At the end, okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, any other questions about the consent agenda? Or any of the items on the consent agenda, rather? Go
I
ahead.
make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as posted.
So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Takes us to superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one item for approval of a new member for School Board Advisory Committee that's highlighted in orange. Amy Wood, who's a parent and interested community member, would like to join the School Health Advisory Committee. Looking for approval for her to be able to join that important committee.
I make a motion, we accept her name, Mrs. Wood, for the advisory committee member.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Kunkus seconds Ms. Emel's motion. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Jones.
Thank you. Next item is consider approval for the Powhatan Extension Office, a request to use school buses and school bus drivers for our 4-H camp.
All right. Questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Ms. Ayers made a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Ms. Emel has seconded Ms. Ayers' motion. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Dr. Jones.
Thank you. The next item is a resolution commending Coach Baltimore. I think, and Coach Baltimore, I apologize if I was thinking straight when I was doing this agenda. We would have done this during the recognitions. Typically, we do resolutions during this part of the report, but if the board could join me on the floor, and we'll recognize Coach Baltimore as Dr. Almohandro reads the resolution.
We need to vote.
And I'm going to say
Oh, we
just,
have to vote on it.
Yeah.
oh,
We-
we-
We've never voted.
We have to, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for Mr. Baltimore.
All right, so Mr. Cole has made a motion that we approve the resolution prepared for Coach Baltimore. Is there a second to Mr. Cole's motion?
I'll second it.
Ms. Emel is seconding Mr. Cole's motion. All in favor of approving the resolution this evening recognizing Coach Baltimore, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 for the resolution.
Now we
Dr.
can
Jones.
recognize.
and I'm going to just take a moment too, as a former civics teacher and former coach and a big fan of Coach Baltimore, I'm very excited to be able to read this evening. Powhatan High School was proud to have Bob Baltimore, who served the baseball team for over half a century, honored by the General Assembly in House Resolution Number 27. Lee Ware presented a resolution to honor Bob Baltimore's years of service to Powhatan County as an educator and coach, as this year is his 51st year coaching baseball at Powhatan. I don't think he has his cleats on still. I think he might have changed out of them, but I'm sure he had them on earlier today. Powhatan County School Board would like to recognize Bob Baltimore with its own resolution to have this resolution as part of their minutes, and I'd like to read that resolution. Whereas Bob Baltimore began his teaching career in Powhatan County Public Schools in 1967 as a teacher of sociology and social studies and was a full-time teacher until his retirement in 1999. Whereas during Bob Baltimore's teaching career, he served as the Powhatan High School Social Studies Department Chairman, served as an interim assistant principal, as the Powhatan High School Athletic Director, and was Powhatan County Public Schools Teacher of the Year in 1988-89. And whereas during Bob Baltimore's career at Powhatan County Public Schools, he served as a coach for the Powhatan High School baseball team from 1967 to 2017, as the head coach for the Powhatan High School basketball team 1967 to 1969, as the head coach for the Powhatan High School football team 1971 to 1983, and as an assistant football coach under Jimmy Woodson 1984 to 2017. And whereas Coach Baltimore was recognized for his coaching successes by being named head coach of the East Virginia All-Star Team of 1975 by the VHSL Coaches Association, and whereas in 1997, Coach Baltimore was recognized by his community for his outstanding service to the sports programs and students of Powhatan County Public Schools by having the Powhatan High School's baseball diamond named Baltimore Field in his honor. Whereas in recognition of his devotion to his discipline, Powhatan High School annually presents the Robert C. Baltimore Social Studies Award to the outstanding senior student in the field, and therefore let it be resolved that we, the members of the school board of the County of Powhatan, Virginia, do gratefully acknowledge the services and exemplary accomplishments of Robert Bob C. Baltimore as an educator and coach. Be it further resolved that this resolution be made part of the minutes of this date as a permanent record of the esteem accorded by this board to Robert Bob C. Baltimore, a.k.a. Coach Baltimore. Congratulations. Yes. Yes, they would. And your brother, yes.
All right, so I believe that takes us to the next steps and follow-up, and we will start, Ms. Brindley, can we start with you?
Yes.
All right, so we'll do next steps, follow-up, and comments together, if that's okay. All right.
So I think it was last week, the cosmetology students took a trip to New York and it was very successful. We had a lot of fun. We went to the International Hair Show and we also went to Good Morning America and we got to meet Robin Roberts and Michael Strahan.
Mhm.
And that was really cool from personal experience.
Got on TV too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our signs and everything were on TV. And speaking of cosmetology, Skills USA is doing a District 2 competition this weekend at Goochland. It starts at 9 a.m. and if you go to that, they're also asking you bring 2 cans of food because they're working with Feed More and they're doing a food drive and I'll be there, so I'll know if you show up or not. And then the track team is collecting money to help repair the track because it apparently has holes in it. I was talking with the captain of the track team, and he said that every single sports team uses the track. The county uses the track. Gym classes uses the track. Everyone uses the track at it's at the high school too. I think that it's good to look into to see what he's talking about. He also says that if you contact him and he wants y'all to contact him at Tyler Roebuck at rocketmail.com. He says that it's just, I think the 2 big holes that were put in the track field are by a few students who did it one year. I think it's new that this has happened, and they're right at the start where they start their races and everything, and I think that's quite dangerous.
Mhm.
But I think he's doing a GoFundMe page and he's talked with the other members of track team and he really wants to repair the track and possibly even get new equipment for the team. And then also an event that does run around the track is Color Cure Fun Run. They have started the sign-ups at colorcure.weebly.com. Christian Miller, a teacher at our school, sponsors the club that's doing that, Leftovers Club. It's on April 28th and proceeds go to the fight against cancer and it's $25, I think. I think it starts at $20, but as soon it's going to go up to $25. And then the JRTC Raider team went to Maryland to compete and against 15 other schools. They got first place and are going to compete in the Best of the Best competition later this spring. And that's about it.
Very good report.
Yeah, very good.
Before we leave that, Dr. Jones, I saw you making notes while she was talking about the track. And I'm sure you're going to do that. If you could follow up
Yeah,
on that.
absolutely.
If that's a safety issue
Yeah,
for us.
absolutely.
We certainly want to correct that as soon as possible.
Absolutely, thank you.
So, Mr. Kunkel?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing, so I'll give my time up to everyone else.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ayers?
Just a couple of things about all the people that we recognize tonight. And just, again, you all are what make our school system so wonderful and successful. And thank you to all those people. Thank you all to all the schools for the Black History Month activities. I know they were very popular. I've heard a lot about all of them, and I think we do a really good job in that area. So thank you all for that. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Ms. Emel?
For my next steps, I'd like us to look into the health insurance that was provided by the VSBA, the webinar I don't want to say attended. How do you say that when you
Attended.
attended
Yeah.
even? Okay.
Participated.
Participated, okay. Anyway, it's the alternative health insurance model, a new way. So is there a way our staff can look into that to?
Mr. Johns participated in that
Oh, did you?
webinar as well, so he has the information, so we can look into it further.
Right, because one of our teachers last meeting asked us to look into alternatives, and That was very pro-wellness, and I think it's worth looking into.
Sure.
And then second, Mrs. Wilson, if you'd register me for the free webinar on school safety, I'd appreciate that. Which brings me to my next topic. I thought we were going to have security talked about at this meeting. Are we?
We're doing it in April.
Oh, in April,
Yeah.
okay. And I wanted to know, do we have cameras at all the schools right now? Or is this something we're going to discuss then, or how do we?
Yeah, we have cameras at all the schools. The secondary schools have more cameras because they're bigger and there's more coverage, but we do have cameras at each of the schools. But
Okay.
that'll be part of the presentation.
Presentation.
We'll give you an overview of different
We'll
safety
see.
measures that are in
Okay.
place. We're going to invite Sheriff Nunley to come and participate as well, to
Okay.
talk about the SRO program and our cooperation with the Sheriff's Department. So we're just planning on doing that in April.
Okay, and then could we also add the new middle school
Absolutely.
to that as well?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, and then my two visits were the Dr. Seuss play at Pocahontas Elementary School. If you haven't seen the highlights, they're on the website. What makes these plays so wonderful is when I was watching in the audience, Mr. Sulzer played the boy when he was a baby, and he had this big bonnet on, so you couldn't tell it was him. And watching it, as he was crawling back and forth, and then the students, then he put his head up, he had his binky in his mouth and everyone, and the children next to me said, "Hey, that's Mr. Sulzer." They didn't know, and then when they saw him, it just makes it all priceless.
What did you say he had in his mouth?
A binky.
A binky.
Don't you know a binky?
A pacifier?
Well, the same as a pacifier,
No,
isn't
I
it?
know what you meant.
Oh,
I just
okay.
wanted to hear it again.
Oh, okay. Well, check the website, there's a picture
I've
of him
seen
there.
pictures.
I guess that was, Michelle caught that, huh? It was very good. But it's just, once again, the kids, they look forward to this, and they don't realize it's their own teachers, principals, and staff members that put it on, and it's just priceless, so. And the last thing was the Special Ed Advisory Committee had a well-attended a dyslexia program last week, and Mrs. Engel did a great job explaining the district's plans for the dyslexic students, and many parents that attended were eager to help. And that is it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hill. Mr. Cole.
Yes, sir. Just a couple of things. First, I'm looking forward, the Health Advisory Committee met a couple of weeks ago and we're looking forward to some great recommendations that are coming out in terms of ways to improve health in the schools and ways to recognize health and wellness and reinforce it. So we're looking forward to getting that. We thank Ms. Wojcicki for leading that committee. I sent an email to all of you about possibly recognizing some of the businesses in the community that have really supported our schools on the VSBA honor roll. I'd like to think about that more, and if you've got businesses that you think we should honor, or if the staff has businesses they think we should honor, then I think that's something we should do. We've got a lot of people who support us in a lot of ways, and just like we did tonight, recognizing people is one way of expressing our appreciation for what they do and hopefully reinforcing other people to get involved. It's very nice to recognize so many wonderful people and teams in this division. And it certainly makes for a better school board meeting in a lot of ways. And I'm sorry Mr. Baltimore has left. Is he gone out there, Mr. Conner? Yeah, but I had the privilege of being on his team in 1967. I'd like to think that I'm a better person for it, and hopefully, he learned some things from us too that helped him along the way. But what people don't realize is that between 1967 and probably about 1985 to 90, Powhatan County Public Schools wasn't a place where a lot of people wanted to come work. It was it was not a great school system in a lot of ways. There were a lot of good people that worked here, but it was a difficult place to work in a lot of ways because of the way because of the nature of the community at that point. It was probably one of the lowest paid group of teachers in the state, probably one of the lowest per capita support of the school in the state and probably in the nation. So you know, you've got to commend somebody like Mr. Baltimore and lots of other folks, but certainly Mr. Baltimore exemplifies the dedication of many, many teachers during that period of time. And it's really nice to be able to see that rewarded later on. And you think about the number of people that he touched in his classroom and the number of people that he touched as a coach over those 50 years. And even to this day, people like me who had him 50 years ago still call him Coach Baltimore. We still look up to him as a trusted advisor, a mentor, and I can, you know, I had the pleasure and certainly privilege when I came back to Powhatan in the late 80s and was an assistant principal and later principal. Mr. Baltimore was kind of acted as an administrative assistant for me one year. And once again, he was a great mentor and a great role model and a person that I could go to and get great advice. There were very few people that had their hand and their pulse on the community and on the students the way he did. And he always told good stories, great jokes. If things were always going, anything that were going bad, you'd go down and talk to Mr. Baltimore and he'd have a great joke for you to make you laugh and smile. But I do want to say, you know, I'm sorry, like I said, I'm sorry he's not here, but there is, you know, this recognition is just a small thing we can do to say thank you for somebody that's really impacted thousands and thousands of Powhatan High School students over the years, and he's made this community and this high school over the years a special place. So,
Thank you, Mr. Cole. All right. So I try to make an effort not to repeat what my colleagues have talked about, so I will just touch on a couple of things quickly. One is I would ask if you would register me for the school safety webinar, the free webinar on March 28th. Also, I would ask that, I'm not sure you probably already do this, but if that is something that we offer to the school resource officers for them to view webinars like that, I think that might be useful for them, or at least interesting for them. So if you could make that available to our SROs as well. I would say just briefly, Ms. Emo mentioned the safety presentation, and I did have an occasion to speak with Sheriff Nunnally last week at one of the Board of Supervisors meetings very briefly about that, and he indicated that he would welcome an invitation from Dr. Jones to come to the next meeting, so I know that is in the works. And the last thing I would say is just, I thought Mr. Cole's comments were very eloquent about his experience with the school system, and I would just say that today, I think we live in a very different circumstance. We have a wonderful school system. I am so very proud of it. It has done a great service for the young people in this community. It provides a quality education, and the people we recognize tonight, the young people, the teachers, you know, it's because of the hard work of the faculty, the staff, the administration, the engagement of the parents, the environment that we create here where those opportunities exist. And I think it's just a credit to everyone that's involved, including this board and previous boards, and Dr. Jones. And I think it's a wonderful circumstance that we find ourselves in. So thank you to the faculty, staff, the administration, the parents, and everyone that's engaged in the process. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to conclude my comments. The next steps and follow-up again would be just if you would follow up with the sheriff on that issue, and also on the track issue that Ms. Brindley brought to our attention this evening from a safety perspective. So, and Dr. Jones, that takes it to your comments, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, I just wanted to recognize and thank Karen Horn and the entire Human Resources Department. We did our second annual Job and Career Fair on Saturday. It was an incredible success. We had 134 candidates pre-register for jobs. We had another 28 people walk in. We had over 36 staff members that devoted a Saturday, most of a Saturday, to be there and representing their school and doing interviews and screening candidates. And it was just an incredible success. We saw some really talented individuals that really want to be part of Powhatan, that are teaching elsewhere or straight out of school. And I think it speaks to the quality of our school system and how desirable it is that we could attract such talent. We offered a few contracts on the day, so we already hired some people as a result of it, so it really was a great success. And for those of you who have done events like that, it is a very complicated, time-intensive task, and Ms. Horn and her department really did a great job of organizing it, so thank you, Karen. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Good job. All right, so that takes us to the second of our public comment periods this evening. Period provides an opportunity for individuals or delegations wishing to comment publicly to the board to do so. There is a time limit during this second public comment period of 1 minute per individual and 3 minutes per group, with a total 15-minute time limit. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak, please identify yourself by name to the board. We would also ask that you address the board as a whole. Good evening, Mr. Sneed.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Sneed, Division Lead Teacher for Performing Arts. And as has been mentioned earlier, March is Music in Our Schools Month. I would like to thank the Powhatan Education Foundation, Dr. Jones, Dr. Alejandro, Mrs. Nelson, Mrs. Deal, Mrs. Gwaltney, the outstanding Transportation Department, our dedicated bus drivers, the fifth grade teachers at both Powhatan and Flat Rock Elementary Schools, and the music teachers at those schools for their hard work in getting our fifth grade students from those schools to the Richmond Symphony earlier this month. That was the beginning of the month, and at the end of the month, we will have two major performances. The Elementary Choral Festival on Tuesday, March 27th, and Powhatan Band Night on Thursday, March 29th. Each of those performances represents the breadth of the music programs in our school division. The Elementary Choral Festival includes students from each of our 3 elementary schools, and Powhatan Band Night will include all roughly 400 students in our band program performing together. I would like to also make a couple of comments about Music in Our Schools Month. At a time when communication and connectivity is at an all-time low, music education does a great job of bringing us all together. If you walk into any of our classrooms, students from diverse backgrounds sit together and join together in a common cause. We're incredibly proud of our school music programs. Our students represent us very well everywhere we go in competitions and assessments in every setting. And the greatest outcome is not their performances or their awards or accolades. It's the reality that the students that leave our programs become citizens who are able to value something greater than themselves. In her novel, The Chilbury Ladies Choir, Jennifer Ryan writes, "Music takes us out of ourselves, away from our worries and tragedies, and helps us to look into a different world, a bigger picture." Last week, the students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School performed in Carnegie Hall. Many of the students who lost their lives in the unspeakable tragedy of February 14th were band students. And on that stage sat empty chairs representing each of those students. There's no other content area where those students could have come together to honor their friends, to express emotions that there aren't words for. And that's why Music in Our Schools is more than frill or thrill. It is absolutely essential to the human experience that we provide the students of Powhatan County Public Schools. I thank you for the tremendous support that we receive every day in all facets, financially and encouragement, and knowing that what we do matters. There are many places where teachers have to fight for everything they have, and we're thankful that everything that you do is a part of what makes this one of the best communities for music education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else during public comment period? All right, seeing no further movement, I'll bring the second of our public comment periods to a close. That takes us to the last item on the agenda. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Ms. Emos made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Coles made a second. All in favor of adjourning our meeting for the evening, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.